The U.S. was the only member of the United Nations Security Council not to support a resolution condemning Israeli settlements on Friday. As one of 5 permanent members of the council with veto power, the U.S. struck down the proposal, which would have said Israeli settlements in the West Bank were illegal and would have called for an immediate and complete end to construction.
Our opposition to the resolution before this council today should therefore not be misunderstood to mean we support settlement activity. On the contrary, we reject in the strongest terms the legitimacy of continued Israeli settlement activity.
But there's no doubt that within the occupied territories, Palestinian land, that there is a horrendous example of apartheid.
In a closed-door meeting in Washington Friday, Kerry said if Middle East peace is not achieved, Israel could become an apartheid state. That remark triggered a storm of criticism.
In fact, instances of institutionalized segregation in the country abound. For starters, Israel has a permit system which restricts travel for ethnic Palestinians in the West Bank, limiting where they can live unless they obtain permits from the Israeli government. These checkpoints aren't all that dissimilar from South Africa's pass system, which restricted movement for blacks.
I have visited the occupied Palestinian territories and have witnessed the humiliation of Palestinians at Israeli military checkpoints.
In addition to Israel's controversial tactics for dealing with international grievances, they have been accused of committing war crimes against their own Palestinian population, which some, such as Israeli historian Ilan Pappé, have gone as far as to call slow genocide.
Talk about a quick turnaround. Today, only days after a strong re-election win, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he is, in fact, still committed to a two-state solution with Palestine if circumstances improve. Netanyahu had promised the day before re-election, when he was slipping in the polls, that if re-elected, there would be no two-state solution with Palestine. In light of that statement, the United States then announced that it would consider supporting a UN Security Council resolution that would call for the resumption of political talks to conclude a final peace settlement.
In the end, we know what a peace agreement should look like. The borders of Israel and an independent Palestine should be based on the 1967 lines with mutually agreed swaps. Each state needs secure and recognized borders, and there must be robust provisions that safeguard Israel's security. An occupation that has lasted for almost 50 years must end, and the Palestinian people must have the right to live in and govern themselves in their own sovereign state.